And we're live and recording. Morning, Simon.
Morning, Sadie. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Big day today. Big day. Big day. Time to talk day.
It is very, very exciting. A day that we all we talk more about mental health, and we do more to tackle the stigma associated with it. So lots of activities planned today to support the event.
Yeah,
lots going on. We've got an event
today,
evening. We are. Yeah. Do you want to talk about
that? Yes, as I just rudely interrupted you. Yeah, 6 time to talk day in support of VAs, PAs, EAs, and all support professionals. A free event with a brilliant speaker, honestly a good friend as well, Pam Warren. And Pam survived the Ladbroke Rail train disaster in 1999. Let me just make sure I get this right. 31 people killed and 417 injured. Pam was, everything was going all right in Pam's life. She was in the first class, sitting above the diesel canisters when two trains collided. And she'll walk us through exactly the steps that what happened next and the horrific detail of the event. She was known as the lady in the mask, but she, through the PR publicity rather that came from the event, she was incredibly critically injured. And Pam's got a really inspirational story about change, about what happened next, about how she repositioned everything in her life, and the courageous steps she took to really get herself, really just get herself back. And she's talking through that on Time to Talk, which is amazing. And it's a free event for all the hundreds of people there. Yours truly presenting, you're presenting. We've got CPD training, haven't we? Etc. So that's what we're doing. That's the big event tonight from 6 to 8. But perhaps let us know, what is Time to Talk Day? I mean, it's a big day in our calendar, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's driven by an initiative called Time to Change, which I'm a national champion for. And really the day is all about encouraging people to talk more openly about their mental health. I think it is something that we've certainly done a lot more of since the pandemic. You know, people are more readily opening up around feeling anxious, feeling stressed, feeling depressed, feeling isolated, all the things that I think a lot of people can relate to. But really this day as well is about stigmas and about the taboos associated with mental ill health. And for me, that's where we need to do a lot more. We've got the conversation started, we've got an increased level of awareness, but there's still a lot of stigma associated with mental illness. And I don't think people appreciate the impact that can have on people. So
talk me through, what is the word stigma? We know what it is, but I mean, to get around something, we've got to understand it. What is stigma?
So it's when there's an element of discrimination, certain beliefs held around something, leads to prejudiced behaviour. We also have self-stigma, which is like internalised thoughts associated with certain conditions and how people perceive themselves due to conditions. So, you know, it does stop people speaking out because therefore they'll be judged, and it creates barriers in society, which we all have a role to play in breaking down. And that's, yeah, when a lot more needs to be done in that area, in my mind.
All right, back in my day, the words anxiety, depression were barely used. Stress, I know when you started, were barely used in the workplace. You know, now all the kids, and well, you know, what good on them are talking. What is that you're drinking?
It's green juice.
Looks like frog spawn. Is
that part of
your detox?
Yes, it is.
Looks delightful. Yeah, back in the day, so now the kids are saying, and my girls are saying, anxy, you know, feeling a bit anxy, depressed. These words are being spoken a lot, you know, and they are, God, that person's stressy. These words are being used. They're more familiar to being used. There are words that still haven't hit the radar. It's almost like we're getting as socially acceptable, and it's great that people are talking about those and they're becoming socially acceptable. But is there a danger that it pushes the other side? You know, when you're clinically depressed or when you've got, you have to medicate for your condition, those aren't being talked about too much still, are they?
No, there are still certain conditions that there is just a lot of misunderstanding around. And I think, you know, encouraging people to, yes, talk about feeling anxious or experiencing anxiety is something that people are becoming more comfortable doing. But the crippling impact that some conditions can have on people's lives isn't really as acknowledged and as openly discussed. I think the comfort levels of having conversations around things like addiction, psychosis, self-harm, suicide are, you know, they're still not really where they need to be in relation to people's education and awareness. And, the other thing I'm not sure people are as conscious of in relation to encouraging people to speak up and speak out, particularly on something like Time to Talk Day, is that there needs to be a process to protect the people that are speaking up and speaking out, because that makes them feel quite vulnerable and quite exposed. And if the right support and safeguarding isn't put in place, then that can put them at, quite a risk. So, yeah, there just needs to be more education, particularly around certain conditions. And we are making progress, like you say. Things have improved a lot, but it just needs to keep moving forwards with that momentum.
This is where a little information can be dangerous sometimes, because you can think, what shall I do for Time to Talk Day? We'll tell everyone to talk about their mental health. We'll ask everyone, and people do. They're not perhaps being signposted. They might be being triggered by it. And actually, it's not just a one-day event, is it? As we keep saying, mental health is omnipresent, and it should be all the way through the year with support mechanisms in place. So yes, we're advising people to talk, but we are advising organisations to put that support network in place, aren't we, when they're advising people?
Yeah, absolutely. And particularly with things like having mental health first aiders in place, it's fantastic as an initiative, but unless they're protected and they've got the right processes in place to manage the risk of what they're being exposed to and what they might be triggered by, it's just making sure that everyone's kept safe during, this process of encouraging people to open up and speak out around their mental health, because taking that step can be really, really tough. And, that I've been diagnosed with complex PTSD, and as part of that, at the worst points, would experience like significant flashbacks, would physically react to certain triggers, had significant social anxiety. And, at times when I did talk to people about the way I was behaving or acting in certain situations, they kind of took a step back because I was being a bit weird. And what's wrong with you? Why are you doing that? I didn't understand it. And that can make you feel even more alone and isolated. So it's just making sure that those mechanisms are in place, that when people do speak up, that the right support is available, that people know how to listen without judgment. And like you said, the signposting is available in organisations.
So Sadie, I'll take you as an example then, prime example. Thank you for sharing that as well. But what would make you feel at ease if you were in a corporate organisation, an environment where there were plenty of eyes looking at you and you were told to talk up nicely, as part of maybe a campaign run internally by an organisation? But would you feel confident enough to, has it changed enough for you to feel able to talk within an environment like that, or what would make it easier?
I would now. I wouldn't have back then, but it's just having people that are truly compassionate around you and no one trying to fix things. I think there's quite a tendency that we want to try and solve problems, don't we? And even when people are listening, they're half thinking about, what advice should I give? What should I be telling someone to do? It's not about being told what to do or trying to fix it. It's just genuinely caring and listening and being there. And that to me is the difference. And I think having natural levels of emotional intelligence and being able to listen just with the views to support someone, not to try and do anything or fix anything, having the answers is actually quite hard to do. And particularly in the work environment, we see people instantly trying to think about, they're not truly listening, engaging in what someone's saying, because they're off thinking about what they're going to say next, which causes that disengagement to actually the level of the active listening. And go on.
Well, no, I was just going to say we had exactly the same with the parenting one, didn't we? When kids are coming, they're actually protective of their parents. So if the parents are saying, I'm stressed, I'm this, I'm that to the kids, it's actually, whilst it's good for the parents to talk and be open about it, the children may actually go slightly inside themselves and think, well, I daren't tell you what I think now about my issues because I'm protecting you. We've got 40 seconds left. This is a good thing, don't try and fix it necessarily, just be there empathetically. But it is time to talk. I know it's a great day for you in the calendar. What can people do today?
Get talking, have a conversation with somebody. If you haven't connected with someone recently, drop them a text and just check in on them. I think it's a really, really good time to tell people that, why you appreciate them being in your lives, and just check in how they are, even more so than usual. I will also signpost the event this evening because it's going to be a fantastic event. I can't wait to hear Pam speak. I think hearing her speak about resilience and change at a time where we're all facing quite a lot of adversity, I think it couldn't be more topical and timely. So I really do invite people to get involved and join us.
Yeah, we're doing it in conjunction with the Essex PA Network. Julia Robertson and Liz Rotherham is also speaking as well, isn't she, for mental health and CPD training. It's going to be great. Pam's just a legend. And Sadie, we're up again. We're against the clock. Thank you very much for your time. Yes.
I finished my juice now.